All right, so are you ready to really dive deep into this book, The Alchemist? It's been requested a ton, and we're finally getting to it.
Yeah, it's funny. The Alchemist, it's one of those books that seems really simple when you first hear about it, right? Just
Yeah,
a shepherd looking for treasure.
yeah, just like a little fairy tale almost.
But then you read it and whoa,
Yeah, you're like, whoa, this
there's like
is.
all these layers.
Yeah, it's like all these metaphors for life and, listening to your intuition and like the universe speaking to you.
Yeah, and it's crazy how many people it's resonated with.
Yeah.
Like it's sold how many millions of copies.
Yeah, millions and millions.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And for anyone who hasn't read it yet, it's the story of this guy, Santiago. He's a shepherd, right? And he keeps having this dream
Uh-huh.
about finding treasure at the pyramids.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, like buried treasure, and he just can't shake this dream.
Well, and that's, I think, where the whole idea of like the personal legend comes in. Like Coelho is saying, we all have this thing we're meant to do.
Right, this purpose.
Yeah, this purpose, but it's like figuring out what that is.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
And then actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
it's one thing to like have this dream or this feeling, but then it's like, okay, well, how do you actually make that happen?
Right, like how do you know if it's just a dream or if it's like the universe telling you something? You know what I mean?
Totally. And that's where Santiago's story, I think, is so powerful because he doesn't just like ignore the dream.
Right.
He meets this guy Melchizedek who like really shakes things up.
Yeah, Melchizedek, he's the king of Salem. Like what?
Right. Like where'd that come from?
Mhm.
But he's like this wise mentor figure who basically tells Santiago like, hey, you got to follow this dream. This is your personal legend calling you.
And I love that he gives him those stones, right? Like the Urim and Thummim.
Oh, yeah, those are so cool. They're like divination tools for making decisions.
Right. So it's like Melchizedek is saying, trust your gut. You're going to need help figuring this out. So here are these stones to guide you.
And he also warns him about fear. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing that'll hold you back.
Oh, yeah. Fear's like the ultimate dream killer.
Totally.
So even with this guidance, right, from Melchizedek, Santiago's still got to make this huge decision.
Uh-huh.
He sells his sheep, like all of them, his whole flock.
It's a big deal. Like, that's his livelihood, his comfort zone.
Yeah, and I think that's something we can all relate to, right? Like how often are we kind of stuck in a rut, like a job or a relationship that's not really fulfilling?
Totally. And it's scary to think about leaving that behind.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's way easier to just stay comfortable.
But Santiago, he takes that leap. He chooses to follow his personal legend, even though it means stepping into the unknown.
And of course, things don't exactly go smoothly right away. Like he
Yeah.
gets robbed in Tangier.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, it's like, boom, welcome to the real world, kid.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality check.
Right. And I think it's interesting that he doesn't immediately bounce back from that.
Yeah.
He ends up working in a crystal shop.
Yeah, he's got to hustle. He needs to make money.
Right. And it's not glamorous. It's not like, oh, I'm on this grand adventure.
No, it's like real life. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes you got to work a job you don't love to support your dreams.
Exactly. And it's cool how even in that crystal shop, Santiago starts to learn things.
Uh-huh.
He's paying attention to the details, like the way the light hits the crystals.
And he's picking up on the language of the world, like Melchizedek talked about.
Right, like that whole thing with the omens.
Yeah, the shopkeeper thinks Santiago's arrival is a good omen. Then later, the influx of customers when Santiago's cleaning is seen as another good omen.
It's like he's starting to see these signs, these little messages from the universe.
Right, and he's not just seeing them, he's acting on them.
Oh, yeah, like that whole thing with the display case.
Yeah, he uses his shepherd's knowledge to help the shopkeeper make more money.
It's like he's taking what he knows from one world and applying it to another.
Totally. It's all about being adaptable and resourceful.
And I think that's a great lesson for all of us, right? Like no matter what we're doing, there are always opportunities to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
So Santiago's learning about business. He's getting better at reading the omens. But then, bam, love enters the picture.
Fatima.
Fatima, yeah, he meets her at the oasis, and it's
Yeah.
like instant connection.
Right in the middle of the desert.
Talk about romantic.
Yeah, seriously.
But it's not just a simple love story,
Mm.
right? Fatima, she challenges Santiago in a whole new way.
She's like another mentor in a way.
Yeah, she teaches him about the power of love, but also about letting go.
Remember what she tells him. If you have to wait until the war is over, then wait. But if you have to go before that, then go on in pursuit of your dream.
Yeah, she's like, I love you, but you gotta do you.
Exactly. She understands his personal legend is important.
And Santiago's torn, right? He's falling in love with her, but he also knows he has to keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's a tough decision.
Who wouldn't want to just stay in this beautiful oasis with the woman you love?
Right. But Santiago, he knows he can't deny his purpose.
So he keeps going, and that's where he meets the camel driver, right? This guy's got a whole other perspective on life.
Oh, yeah, the camel driver, he's awesome.
Oh.
He's all about living in the present.
Right, like that whole thing about if I'm eating, that's all I think about. If I'm on the march, I just concentrate on marching.
It's so simple, but so profound.
Right, like he's not weighed down by the past or worried about the future.
He's just fully present in each moment.
And he has that amazing line about fear, remember? He says, "Fear disappears when we understand that our life stories and the history of the world were written by the same hand."
Whoa, yeah. That one gives me chills.
It's like he's saying we're all connected, we're all part of this bigger story.
Totally. And that even the things that seem random or chaotic are actually part of a plan.
Right. It's comforting in a way.
It is.
Like we're not alone in this.
Exactly.
So Santiago keeps pushing forward. He's learned so much from Melchizedek, from the crystal merchant, from Fatima, from the camel driver, but he still hasn't met the alchemist.
Oh, yeah, the alchemist. He's the ultimate guide.
Right, the one who can supposedly help him unlock the secrets of his journey.
And that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Tytoon.
Okay, so we left off with Santiago about to meet the alchemist, like the ultimate mentor figure.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
Right. Like he's learned so much already, but the alchemist is going to take him to a whole other level.
It's like the alchemist can teach him things that nobody else can.
Yeah, he has this deep understanding of the soul of the world, like that universal energy that connects everything.
Which is something Santiago's been tapping into all along,
Yeah.
right? But now he's going to learn how to, like, really harness it.
Exactly. And it's not all like meditation and peaceful vibes.
Oh, no.
They get captured, like right when they're crossing the desert.
By tribal warriors, I mean, talk about a test of faith.
Right. Like here you are following your personal legend, and you end up a prisoner.
It'd be so easy to just give up at that point, right? Like, this is it. I'm done.
Yeah, but Santiago, he remembers what the alchemist said about fear.
That it's the biggest obstacle.
Exactly. And he decides to like bet everything on his dream.
Yeah, he tells the tribal chiefs about the treasure buried at the pyramids.
It's a huge risk.
Right. Like, what if they think he's crazy?
But it's like those tribes, they understand the power of dreams, you know?
Huh.
They see Santiago's conviction and they're like, okay, maybe there's something to this.
It's like they speak the same language even though they come from totally different worlds.
Yeah, it's that language of the soul of the world that we were talking about.
So they let him go, and he finally makes it to the pyramids.
But it's not like, yay, I'm here, let's dig up the treasure.
Oh, no!
There's this whole other layer of challenge.
Oh, like he's in this completely unfamiliar place.
He doesn't even know where to start digging.
And then he digs and digs and digs and nothing.
Yeah, it's the ultimate letdown.
Talk about anticlimactic.
Right. Like you've come all this way, risk your life. And for what?
For nothing.
Well, not for nothing.
Right. I mean, he's learned so much.
Exactly. But in that moment, it's got to feel like a huge failure.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. You know? Like you put your heart and soul into something and it doesn't work out the way you expected.
It's tough.
It is, but it's also like a necessary part of the process.
Right. Like sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to find the real treasure.
Exactly.
And that's what happens to Santiago, right?
Yeah, remember that scene with the refugees?
Oh, yeah. One of them tells Santiago about a dream he had.
About a treasure buried in an abandoned church.
In Spain.
Back where Santiago started.
It's like, whoa, the universe just threw him a curveball.
Right. And it's such a beautiful moment because it reframes the whole journey.
Yeah. It's not about the physical treasure anymore.
It's about the transformation Santiago's gone through.
The lessons he's learned.
The person he's become.
Exactly like the alchemist said, the journey is the reward.
And it's so true.
So Santiago goes back to Spain.
Back to the sycamore tree where he first had the dream about the treasure.
And he finds it. Like a chest filled with gold coins and jewels.
It's like this amazing confirmation that he was on the right path all along.
Even though it wasn't the path he expected.
Right. And it's interesting that he doesn't use Urim Thummim to find this treasure.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't need them anymore.
He's learned to trust his own intuition.
He's connected to the soul of the world.
And the story ends with him feeling the wind and smelling Fatima's perfume.
It's so romantic.
Yeah. And it shows that love is like this guiding force.
It's part of his personal legend, too.
Totally.
So Santiago's journey, it's about finding treasure, but it's also about so much more.
It's about listening to your heart, facing your fears, and trusting the process.
And it's about realizing that the real treasure is the journey itself.
And the person you become along the way.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, but there's one scene we haven't talked about yet.
The wind. Like Santiago literally transforming into the wind.
Right. That's some next level stuff.
It is, and it deserves its own deep dive.
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll unpack that amazing scene and wrap up our exploration of The Alchemist. All right, so we're back, and we got to talk about this scene with Santiago and the wind.
Oh, yeah, like literally turning into the wind.
Yeah, it's such a powerful moment in the book, but it's also kind of confusing.
Totally. It's like, what is Coelho trying to say here? Is he being literal, or is it a metaphor?
Right, because on one hand, Santiago's learned all this alchemy. He's connected to the soul of the world, so maybe he really can do that, you know?
Yeah, like maybe it's showing how much power he's tapped into.
But it also feels symbolic, you know? Like it's about more than just physically transforming into the wind.
Yeah, I think it's about like surrendering to something bigger than yourself.
Right, like letting go of control and just becoming one with the universe.
Exactly, and that takes a ton of faith.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like Santiago has to believe that this impossible thing is actually possible.
And that ties back to the whole fear thing, right?
Totally. Like the alchemist keeps saying fear is the biggest obstacle.
So to do something like turn into the wind, you got to like completely let go of fear.
Yeah, you got to trust the process, even if it seems crazy.
And remember that part where the wind talks to Santiago?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, maybe it's better to ask heaven.
And Santiago's like, well, then help me do that.
It's like he's not just waiting for a miracle to happen. He's actively participating.
Right. He's co-creating with the universe.
And I love that conversation he has with the sun.
Oh, yeah. The sun's like, I see everything, but I don't understand love.
And Santiago's like, well, love is the force that transforms and improves the soul of the world.
It's such a beautiful definition.
Right. And it shows that love is not just this like personal thing.
It's like a universal force.
Yeah, it connects us all.
And it has the power to make the world a better place.
And then you have that ending where Santiago goes back to the sycamore tree.
Back where it all began.
And he finds the treasure.
It's like the journey led him right back to where he started, but he's a completely different person now.
Right. He's learned so much. He's grown so much.
He has fulfilled his personal legend.
And that last image with the wind carrying the scent of Fatima's perfume.
So good.
It's like love is this guiding force that brings them back together.
And it shows that our personal legends, they're not just about us.
Right. They're connected to the people we love.
And the world around us.
So The Alchemist, it's a simple story, but it's so packed with meaning.
Yeah, it's about following your dreams, facing your fears, and trusting the journey.
And it's about realizing that the real treasure is often not what we expect.
It's the growth, the wisdom, the love we find along the way.
So we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into The Alchemist.
Yeah, it's a book that stays with you long after you finish reading it.
And we hope it inspires you to think about your own personal legends.
What are you searching for? What's your treasure?
And are you brave enough to follow your heart wherever it may lead?
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.